Hi guys, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be the first in a series of videos where I show you guys a few different methods to use when tying in your peep sight. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no one method is better than any other method as far as tying the peep sight in is concerned, but some of them are certainly a little easier to do than others, and you may not like the way a particular style looks compared to another one as well. So hopefully by the end of these videos you guys will be able to make up your mind as to how you would like to tie your peep sight in, which method's going to be the easiest for you to follow, and which one you think looks the best as well. So the bow we're going to be doing the demonstrations on is a Hoyt Carbon Matrix G3 that we bought secondhand for my wife. It's a nice pearl white color, 30-pound bow. It's going to suit her very nicely when it's done. We are getting some new strings made for it, and I'm chasing up some different draw length cams at the moment as well. Unfortunately, the cams that are on the bow don't go low enough for her draw length of 26 inches. As with older bows, these sorts of things start to get a little bit tricky to find, but I happen to have found a source for some cams for her, and hopefully I will be getting those soon. Then we can go over other things as well as we set up this bow from scratch. So what I'll do is I'll get the camera in nice and close so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm doing for this first method of tying in the peep sight. Alright, so for this first knot that I'm going to show you guys how to do when tying in your peep sight, basically what we're going to do is use 3 separate pieces of serving. And we're going to do a knot here at the top, a knot here at the bottom, and then we're going to tie the peep sight in on its own as well. So 1, 2, 3 separate pieces of serving. Now hopefully I've cut these long enough that we're going to get the job done. And at the same time I'm going to do my very best to try and keep my hands out of the way so you can see exactly what it is that I'm doing. So for the first knot, which is this top knot that we're going to do, you take your length of serving and you fold it in half like that. Then you take the loop that you've created, put it underneath the string like that, and take the long ends and push them through the loop so that when you pull it tight, you've created what's called a half hitch knot. So once you've done that once, basically do the same thing again, but this time instead of coming underneath, go over the top and through this loop that you've created like that. So what you've then achieved is you've got 2 half hitch knots next to each other, and that you can sort of push down a little bit to the side like that. Now what you need to do is the dreaded back serving. Now back serving seems like this mythical knot that a lot of people have a lot of trouble understanding. It's really not that difficult, and as a tip, if you actually look up back serving fly fishing, you'll end up getting a lot of good tutorials on how to back serve as well. But so what I'm going to show you here is pretty much what a back serve is a series of half hitches that you then unravel over itself. Now it may not make a lot of sense right now. I'll try and move the bow over so that we can see a little better what it is that I'm doing here. So you've got your 2 end pieces coming out from the 2 half hitch knots that you've already created here. Now if you take the very ends of those pieces and you come over the string, bring them around and back through this loop that you've created here, as if you were going to do another half hitch knot on the string, so that you're left with that basically. Now this is where things get a little bit trickier. What you do then is take those end pieces, bring them around the string and back through that loop again, so that you're starting to make a bit of a spiral around your string like that. Now we'll do that a third time, as you can see. and a 4th time. So you've got your spiral coming around the string like that off of this loop that you've created at the beginning, and you've got your 2 little end bits sticking out the side here like this. Now those 2 end bits, if you pull them towards the peep sight, and then the beginning of this original loop that you've created, basically what you do then is run that over the string like that, so that it's going over the spiral that you've originally created. And what you'll find is that as you're winding up on this side, you'll be unwinding your spiral on this side. So we went around 4 times, which means we'll need to go around in the opposite direction 4 times as well, which will then loosen up that spiral, as you can see there. So hopefully that all makes sense, and don't worry, I'm going to go over it again when we do the bottom one here. So now these 2 tag ends that are pointing towards the peep sight, we can pull them tight, and you can see the spirals that you've created here start to actually compress together and make this knot at the top of your peep sight. So at this point you can use these surgical tweezers, pinch them onto the serving, roll them around a couple of times, and pull that tight. So that there is the first knot that you need for tying in your peep sight with this 3-strand method. Obviously at that point you do the usual, you cut off the excess. Looks like my scissors could do with some sharpening. And once you've done that, grab your lighter and melt the end like that. So that's our first knot done. Now we'll do the same thing here at the bottom. I'll try and change the camera angle so that you guys can see from my perspective what it is that I'm doing. So bear with me as I switch that around. Alright, so let's go through this again. We've got our serving, and we're going to fold it in half. Exactly the same as what we did before. So that we end up with a loop on this side. Then we're going to go down here to our string, put the loop underneath, and take the 2 end pieces and put them through the loop like that to make our first half hitch knot. Then we'll take those same end pieces, put them underneath the string, bring them around back through this loop here, and once again pull them tight so that we've got 2 half hitch knots next to each other like that. So now what we'll need to do, as I said before, is that back serving. So you take this end bit coming out from your 2 half hitch knots and put it underneath the string like that, bring them through the loop. Try to keep them even. So you've got that going on there like that. Then bring them around, put them through that loop again. And if you remember on the other side, we did that 4 times around. So spiraling around the string inside this original loop that you've created, and we're doing that 4 times. So sorry about this, it's a little tricky with the camera in the way. So that's 3 times and 4 times. So you can see we've got our little spiral coming along the string like that. and then these two end bits, keep them here by the peep sight. And basically what you want to then do is go in the same direction as what this spiral is, so that you're unraveling that spiral as you're putting a tight spiral on this side. So you go once, twice, 3 times, 4 times like that. And then these two end pieces here, if you pull them through, it should bring that all nice and tight. And if it overlaps like that one did, just pull them down that way a little bit, and then you can pull it tight like that. So hopefully that made sense, and hopefully you could see what was going on there. Then basically we cut off the excess. We grab the trusty lighter, burn that, and that's our top and our bottom knot done for the peep sight. Now the last thing that we're going to have to do is actually tie the peep sight in as well. Now a lot of people don't worry about it, and I think that that's got a lot to do with how deep the grooves in the peep sight are, and also how close these first 2 knots are to the peep sight. My school of thought is I would rather not have my peep sight fly out of my string and hit me in the eye. So I always make sure that I do tie the peep itself in as well if I use this method here with the 2 knots at the top and the bottom. At the end of the day, it's your choice. You could leave it here, but I'm going to show you how I then tie the peep sight in as well, just to make sure that it doesn't actually fly out of the string. So I've got myself another piece of the serving material, and basically what I then do is I put it through next to the peep sight like that, and I try to pull it so that it pinches in between the string material and the peep itself like that. Then basically I loop it over itself like that and around to the bottom like that. So at this stage I'll put one end through the top, and it doesn't really matter which end, and the other end through the bottom hole next to the peep sight like that. But what you then need to do is try to make sure that that stays within the peep's groove as you try to pull it so that it pinches in between the peep and the string like that. And then we do the same on the other side. So I've got that running through the groove, and then I try to make sure that I pull this so that it goes in between the peep sight and the string material like that. Now the nice thing about doing that, I can now pull this tight, and the tension between the string and the peep is what's going to be making sure that this doesn't come loose while I do my final knots. So basically from there we can do a normal knot, and then we can do another one, and just make sure that you pull it nice and tight. Cut off the excess, grab the lighter, burn that. And if you're worried about that coming undone, when you burn the nylon and melt it into itself like I did there, basically that's going to make sure that the knot locks and it's not going to come undone. Now the Peep Sight isn't moving up and down on the string, and you've got your knots at the top and the bottom that you can then push in closer or take further away from the peep like that. Now, one of the added benefits of using this method here is that if your peep and your D-loop are not in alignment, and I'll try and zoom out to show you guys. So you can see here my D-loop is pretty much parallel to the table, and my Peep Sight is slightly off center to that. Now if you move that knot down and that knot closer, you can see that you're actually causing your Peep Sight to rotate this way. So that's one of the benefits of using this particular method, is you can actually tune the lining up of your Peep Sight to your D-loop by sliding these knots up and down. And once you're happy with where they are, then your Peep Sight and your D-loop are going to be lined up, and every time you draw your bow, your peep should be in exactly the right spot. Once you're happy with the positioning of these knots, your peep's in alignment with your D-loop, you draw the bow back and everything stays in a line, you can then put a small drop of super glue on the top and the bottom knot, which will then just make sure that those knots aren't going anywhere. Now don't overdo it with a glue, because you'd ideally not want to get any of that glue in the string material itself. When I do these knots, I actually don't apply any super glue to them whatsoever, unless they start moving when I shoot. So basically, and under those circumstances, you've got two choices. You can either super glue to stop them from moving, or you can retie your knot. So in summary, basically what I wanted to go over with there is these little locking tweezers that you can buy off of eBay or anywhere like that. Definitely super useful when it comes to doing these sorts of things, especially for getting a grip on the serving when you're pulling it tight. If you're doing center serving and things like that, like if you need to hold it, you can just like lock them on like that, and it's like having an extra pair of hands. Look into them if this is the type of thing that you do a lot of. The scissors, mine are pretty blunt, they need a bit of a sharpen, but I'll do that once I finish this video. Obviously a lighter and serving material. Now for those of you who are interested, I'm using BCY 62XS braided serving in the 0.018 size for this. You can use whatever serving you want, it doesn't really matter. So pretty happy with the way the knots turned out. I'm going to be undoing it to show you guys another way that I like to tie in Peep Sights, but that'll be in the next video. And then I might try and find some quirky methods that people have used before to tie Peep Sights in, and do a couple of videos on those as well. The cool thing about using this particular method is the adjustability. By sliding these knots up and down, you can, as I said, adjust where your Peep Sight's sitting in relation to your D-loop. So if you've got a bow that you just can't get everything lined up, and you don't want to be going into a press and moving strands of your strings from one side to the other of your peep and all that sort of stuff, this is kind of a cheats way of getting there fairly quickly. Obviously there are better ways of doing that and more permanent ways of doing that, but if you're in a pinch and you need to get it done quickly, this particular peep knot is the way to go. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope that this helps out some of you guys when it comes time to tie in those Peep Sights. If you think the content that I'm creating is useful, or you have other friends, archers, like-minded individuals who might get some value out of it, please feel free to share my channel with them as well. I did say that I'm going to do a giveaway at 250 subscribers, and I'm itching to get there because I definitely want to see what reactions I get from someone who receives one of my custom-made bow racks. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please feel free to do that. Click the little like button for this video as well, and hit the little bell icon so you receive a notification each time I upload a new video. I hope you guys all have a great week, and remember, just do good shots.